Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk Packers. We're live on YouTube, X, and Rumble. And also you can get this in podcast form if you just search for Packernet Podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Gents, how we doing this morning? I know Tim over there battling the bug a little bit, bro. Hey, you know it's warming up when everybody starts getting that sickness going on.
Yeah, my wife and I are taking turns passing the cold around, so it's my turn. But I'm good. I'm happy to be here. How you doing, Jacob? You good over there?
Good morning.
That's about right there. Tim, I don't know about you, but I'm just looking. We're gonna hit 71 degrees today, bruh.
Yeah, we're gonna get high 60s here in Green Bay, and I think some rain though. So I'll take the rain instead of the snow. No problem.
Sure.
That's what's up right there, man. For sure. Well, we obviously we're pretty deep in the free agency here. We're getting, news that we're expecting today. I know everyone's expecting the Aaron Rodgers news pretty soon on whether he'll play for Pittsburgh, the Giants, possibly the Vikings. We'll see where he ends up, obviously, and that might kind of start to cool the free agency down a bit and everybody kind of settle into place. But the Cooper Kupp conversation is still being had. Obviously, we've talked about that a little bit. And Diana Rossini tweeted out this morning, said two teams very interested in signing free agent wide receiver Cooper Kupp, according to league sources, the Seahawks and the Cowboys. Kupp is expected to make his decision today. So as we wind down here on the Cooper Kupp sweepstakes, to me, it just feels like the Packers are not interested. They may have shown some interest, but they're not. Their interest level wasn't, at that point where it was like, okay, they're a legitimate contender to sign him. Now they may surprise us. It could pop up and it could happen. But it just doesn't feel like a Goody move to me, to go older at wide receiver like that. The slot conversation, we've approached it from several different angles. You could say, yeah, we don't need a slot because we got Jayden Reed. You can also point out the fact that Jayden Reed can be a deep threat. He did play a lot of outside snaps, whether it was Z or the X, in college. So you could kind of, I don't want to say a square peg in a round hole, but you could kind of fit that together and make it work. But at the same time, every year we talk about, man, until we get some veteran presence on this team, we're not going to win a Super Bowl as the youngest roster in the league. This is one of those dudes that whatever he is, 31, 32, 33 years old, I'm not sure his exact age, it would definitely push you over the hump of not being the youngest team in the league anymore. But how you guys feel about this, man? You think the Packers are in the hunt for Cooper? Do you think this is kind of passed them by and Goody's saying, nah, we're good?
Tim, answer this for me if you can. I believe I saw a stat that in the last, basically 20 years, maybe more, that that Goody has not, or that the Packers organization in general has not brought in a wide receiver over 30. One of the two I remember was Sammy Watkins. I can't remember who the other one is. If anybody in the chat can maybe do some digging, some sleuthing, if you will. But I just don't see it happening. I would honestly be down for it, but I don't see it.
Was Randall Cobb over 30 when we brought him back?
That doesn't count.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Maybe it does. I don't know.
Randy.
No,
I think you're right, though. And I do remember the Sammy Watkins signing, and I do remember being extremely excited about it for like 15 minutes, and then it wore off very quickly once we saw basically Sammy Watkins warming up with the team. What were the highlights that we saw that year from him? So, yeah, it's tough. But, Cooper Kupp is, he's definitely lost a step. There's no doubting that. And I don't mean like in skill. I just mean in speed, quickness, right? It comes with age. We're all getting older. None of us are fast as we used to be. But I think Clayton's right. I mean, he brings a veteran presence to a young team and really a young wide receiver room, which would create some kind of, veteran leadership and stability there. But as far as like what he's going to do on the field, I don't know that the Packers are willing to get into a bidding war with Dallas and Seattle to try and, snag Cooper Kupp. So if it's down to those two teams, makes sense, right? I could see him going to either one of those teams. Probably leaning more towards Seattle. Dallas is kind of, I don't want to use the term dumpster fire, but a little bit crazy down there in Jerry world right now. I don't know if Cooper wants to be a part of that circus, but I'm with you, Clay. I don't think the Packers are actively pursuing him right now.
If we have time, we'll hit on that Dallas drama down there. There's a lot of drama going around the NFL right now, but we can hit on that if we've got time at the end of the show. Want to get all the Packers talk, free agency talk out, but you're spot on, Tim. Like Cooper Kupp's got to be looking up too with Dallas and going, I really want to go down there and get in the middle of that.
Right.
They don't seem like they're primed for a championship run. Maybe they are though. You never know. It just takes one or two games in a tight knit season. All of a sudden, you got the momentum. I mean, that's how it happened for the Rams when they won the whole thing. Yep. But yeah,
Mike in the chat, Andre Rison, he's got there was the other 30 plus.
Yeah,
I think he's right.
That's going back 30.
Yeah, we're going way back.
I was going to say
one more that was somewhat recent, but that's crazy. Think about that.
How many years ago would that have been now? 30 years?
30, yep.
Yeah, 30 years, yeah. Good old Andre Rison. Wasn't he the one who lost his house? Didn't his house burn down? Am I thinking right, boys?
Yeah.
I remember that correctly.
He had a certain
No, Tim, it was just a toaster. It was a toaster. It caught on fire.
Yeah. Right. Definitely.
Drew D says, Jair news is still very quiet. Holding on to Alexander could be a huge part of our free agency and very underrated. I think it's a fair point, Drew. I really do. We were going to look at it. Matter of fact, we may just jump ahead to that since that's a good little segue since Drew kind of brought it up. Then we could come back to Twitter here in a minute. Let me close this out and pull it up. If we do keep Ja, what does this lineup look like right now? Listen, I'm going to show ESPN's depth chart. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean this is how the Packers see it, right? This doesn't mean this is what it's going to be at the start of the season, but this is the depth chart in which they put together right now. And I do find, if I can complain for just a second, I'm absolutely boggled at how websites are so bad at updating their information. Like PFF, you know how they do the weekly matchup where you can see the lineup and it shows the grades and everybody in their spots. And you can kind of look at it from a color code standpoint. They don't even provide that in the offseason, which is just crazy to me. This would be the time you would want to do that. Maybe even have it where it's a little interactive where you can pull and push pieces into place and, look at this combination of a lineup, what have you. The Packers, man, I love my Green Bay Packers, but you go to the website and Josh Myers still center. It's like, why is it so hard to update this stuff? I just don't get it.
They're putting all the focus on their social media game these days. So
I guess so.
The old website takes a little time, right?
Someone who owns and operates a couple businesses, I just look at the way some people do things and I go, why? Like that would take 30 seconds. Why? Why are we doing that? Anyway, so at least ESPN did try to update, right? The depth chart. So let's look at since we're talking defense here and Drew D and what he mentioned with Jair. Let's assume, and this is going to show the base 4-3-D, okay, but you'll still see the nickelback position at the bottom. Not Jacob's favorite band, Nickelback, but the nickelback position.
It's a good band, all right?
It's a tie between Nickelback and Creed, for sure.
People just started hating on them because they thought it was cool. Go back. They got bangers, dude.
They do got bangers. They do. For all of us that were born on the mountains of Caucasus, we think they have bangers. Okay. But anyway, so this is how they've got the depth chart lined up for the base 4-3. And then we'll just mention, like I said, that slot position because we know they're going to play a lot of safety. So starting at left defensive end, they've got Lucas Van Ness. I actually think he starts on the right more than the left. So good attempt there, ESPN, but you get the picture. At defensive tackle, they've got Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt. At defensive end, they've got Rashawn Gary on the right side. Okay. Now, I can't imagine they're looking at it from the offensive perspective because we know when you're doing a defensive depth chart, you always do it from the defensive side. But nonetheless, you get the picture. So Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary is your starting edge. Your backups to them will be Brenton Cox Jr. and Kingsley Enagbare, with Aaron Mosby probably being the one behind them. Now, at defensive tackle, they're showing Kobe Wooden and James Esther is the backups. We know Carl Brooks is next in line in that rotation, and it would be Kobe Wooden and Carl Brooks, to be honest with you. They've also got Keith Randolph Jr. on the team as well.
Who?
Nesta, Jade Severa. Give me that one more time.
Who?
There you go. These are obviously, I think they were futures that they signed here in the offseason and kind of went ahead and grabbed the rights to. So that's your defensive front. Now, when you go to the linebacker position, they're showing Edgerrin Cooper as the Mike. They're showing Isaiah McDuffie as the Sam and Quay Walker as the Will. I think that it's very interchangeable there. We seen all year last year when healthy, Quay was wearing the green dot and he was the Mike. But understand, just because someone's wearing the green dot doesn't make them the Mike on the play, right?
It's true.
The Mike in a nickel is going to line up on the strong side over the safety. And then, of course, the Mike in a 4-3 is going to be right in the middle. So
maybe this is the year Zay McDuffie gets the green dot. Take some of that responsibility away from Quay.
I don't know, man. I think they like Quay too much, you know. And again, keep in mind, we're going to be in the nickel the majority of the time.
That's true.
So who's it going to be on the field, Quay or Isaiah McDuffie? I imagine
yeah.
it's going to be Quay, right? So now Edgerrin Cooper may take over the green dot like Quay did his second year. Remember, Dre Campbell wore the green dot Quay's rookie year, and then Quay took it over. If they truly see Edgerrin Cooper as that dude they don't want to take off the field and want to be the Mike, they may slap the green dot on him. I could see that happening as well.
Yep.
So that's how you look at linebacker with only Tyron Hopper as the backup there. So you've only got 4 backers. When I say we're gonna need to at least add 2 backers, this is what I'm talking about. You're gonna have to at least carry 5 on your roster. If you go into any Sunday and just carry 4, now you may just have 4 active, right? Because you feel like everybody's extremely healthy. But for the most part, you want to have 5 guys that know the defense and ready to roll out there at the linebacker position. So I think they're at least going to add 1 more, possibly 2 more backers with how it sits right now. And then at cornerback, you've got Jair Alexander, and they've got Keyshawn Nixon on the opposite side with Nate Hobbs in the slot, right? So they've got Javon Bullard backing up Nate Hobbs in the slot, and Carrington Valentine backing up Ja on the left side. And they're showing Isaiah Dunn backing up Keyshawn on the right. I don't know if that would –
Who?
We would hope that maybe Kalen King or Kamal Haddon or somebody, right, would step into that role. So that's just a quick glance. Of course, safeties, Evan Williams at strong safety, Xavier McKinney at free safety. Those are very interchangeable at the NFL level. I want to get your all's take. I'll start with you, Jacob. What do you think about the way this depth chart looks like here, man, in terms on defense and what Drew was talking about? What if Josh stays? Feel a lot better about that DB room if they do keep him, you know?
Yeah. I honestly, glaringly, it looks like we need some depth at linebacker and on the D-line, in my opinion. I think we're pretty set in the secondary, like you just said, especially if Jair sticks around. If he doesn't, I think we address it a couple times in the draft, but the safety room is stacked. I mean, absolutely stacked. The fact that we got guys like Omar Brown and Katan Oladapo as our 3rd string safeties, and if you could have a Bullard and Zane as your backups, I mean, that's pretty sweet. And then the fact that Bullard could also play some nickel. I'm pretty happy with the way the secondary has been shored up very quickly. And but linebacker seems to be more of a glaring need than I really thought. So I wouldn't be surprised if like a Jihad Campbell falls. It seems more realistic now.
Yeah. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, co-sign all of that. I mean, that's glaringly obvious that, I think linebacker is going to be more of a priority than I think we expected maybe, a month ago doing our draft breakdown, kind of just looking at this early depth chart, which again is not, like we said, this is not final, but it's just kind of like a rough estimate, right? But the secondary, yeah, if Josh stays, I think we're looking real good in that DB room. My concern would be linebacker and D-line for sure. I still think we got to be aggressive early in the draft at those positions. Probably D-line more so than linebacker. Like Jacob's mentioning, there's some linebacker talent that might be there, 3rd round, 4th round, something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think you got to go after one of these stud D linemen early, 1st or 2nd round for sure.
All right, because when you look at those 2 position groups, specifically defensive tackle and linebacker, look at the contractual obligations the Packers have, like on the starting line. Kenny Clark is not going to play at that cap hit next year. They're either going to restructure or just move on from him outright, I would imagine, because it blimps up pretty high. So you've got him potentially not being here next year. Devontae Wyatt is not under contract, although we know they like him. He was, as Goody said, he was the most consistent pass rusher on the interior for the Packers. Now, is he worthy of a fifth-year option? I don't know. Is he worthy of, signing to a contract extension? There's precedent for us going, I don't know if he's worth that or not, and Goody going, here's the bag, right? We've seen that a couple of times with his draft picks. So I think what you guys hit on is spot on. In the draft, you're looking at drafting a potential 3-tech. Why do we say that? The contractual obligations or lack thereof, as well as the lack of production and the amount of visits that the Packers have had with these players at the 3-tech position. So everything kind of, it's like we always talk about zeroing in that rifle, right? It's like everything's kind of zeroing in on a 3-tech in the draft fairly early, whether it be the first, second, or third round. Now, at the linebacker position, the same thing applies. You've got our boy Quay Walker is not under contract after next year, right? You just signed Isaiah McDuffie, so he's going to be here for at least another year, maybe two. Tyron Hopper will be here. So you're making a decision on Quay as well. You need a backup, but you don't have to rush to get Quay a contract. You're definitely not going to hit him with the fifth-year option, see how high that number is. So if you turn around now and you're going into the draft and Jahad Campbell does fall to 23, and let's say the Packers have him as their 13th best prospect or something way higher than we even do, right? If that's the case, then, yeah, you pull the trigger on it, and now you really play with the house's money with Quay and try to get a very, very team-friendly deal. And if he scoffs at it, doesn't take it, well, guess what? You got Jahad Campbell moving forward, and you're off and running with another rookie contract at the linebacker position. So I can see him approaching it that way as well.
What do you think about that Carson Schweisinger, UCLA?
Mm-hmm.
We took him to the buffet, got him some Culvers, maybe cheeseburgers, cheese curds, put a little weight on.
We got him in the 52 spot, man. We've got him in the 52 spot. He was 87th at his position in 24. The PFF Big Board has him in 57 spot at the time. Consensus Big Board had him at 107. Daniel Jeremiah has him at 37. Wow. Kyle Krabs has him at 36, and Dane Brugler has him at 43. And we've got him in the 52 spot. So, yeah, I could see that being a second-round pick possibly, And if he's there in the third, run the card up, right? According to our board. And, again, it's not everything. Let me hit the super chat, and we'll get back to the cornerback talk. As a matter of fact, I think that's what Frodo begs for change with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Honestly, Stay, if you watched the tape last year, our biggest hole is Bull, hence Hobbs, and linebackers field guys. That's why we signed Duffy. If the plan is to play Isaiah McDuffie as your second linebacker and the nickel 4-2-5,
no, no.
Yeah,
maybe it's Bullard. Maybe Bullard's the second linebacker.
Come on. I'll tell you this, man. If the plan is Isaiah McDuffie as linebacker 2 in our nickel 4-2-5, don't be surprised when teams start really cutting us apart up the seam. That's going to happen. Isaiah McDuffie's a good run block or a good run defender. Boy, he was cheeks in the passing game. So just keep that in mind there, Frodo. Appreciate the super chat, man. I think
what do you think about
indicative of like depth with McDuffie, and they like him on special teams as well. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, sorry. Judy asks, and so does Coach Lynn, I wouldn't mind signing Wilson back for the minimum. I think he's still out there. To be honest, I would love that. I love Derek Wilson. I thought that what he provided as a depth player is great, but on special teams, it was even better. He was an absolute ace. So I'd be totally fine if we brought him back for the league minimum or whatever.
Definitely
I would too.
Better coverage backer than McDuffie as well.
Yeah. And if you get him on a minimum and the draft falls perfectly into place, you end up drafting 2 backers, guess what? You just move on. You just say, all right, it's a camp cut. I personally I want to say he's 31. I could be wrong. I personally like Derek Wilson better than Isaiah McDuffie. McDuffie's a better run defender, which was hands down our strength of this defense this year. And then, of course, Eric Wilson was, like you said, Tim, I felt like he was a little better in pass coverage than McDuffie. Go ahead, Jay.
Prince is kind of in that same vein here. He says, my biggest concern at linebacker is we haven't improved pass coverage at all. That's why I would like to see someone like Chris Paul Jr. in the draft if he falls a bit. I also like Chris Paul Jr. quite a bit.
Yeah, Chris Paul Jr., the Packers met with him too. And I think at the East-West Shrine Bowl. And he is 104th on our big board. The main thing that's bringing him down on our big board is the consensus big board had him at 109. But other than that, man, everything else is pretty much checked out. We haven't gotten DJ's ranking of him yet. So he could be in the top 100 on DJ's, and that's going to improve him quite a bit as well. I'm on board with that out of Ole Miss, and it's obvious the Packers are interested in him as well. I think that'd be good.
Yep.
Yeah. 6'1", 235. The biggest knock on him as far as PFF is concerned is he's a bit undersized.
Yeah. Just like Weisinger, same thing they're saying.
Right. But they do say that if he can add some mass to his frame, that he'll eventually become a starting will linebacker in the league thanks to his athleticism and intelligence, which we could have, I think that Edge Cooper is still one of the smartest and most like fluid linebackers I've ever seen just come into the NFL. If we could get another guy that's even half that adapted at just transferring his skills into the NFL, we could have a scary linebacker room, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially like intelligence. When you hear that word about a rookie prospect coming out of college, yeah, that's something you definitely want to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah. Mike Hebring with the super chat. Just draft Demetrius Knight Jr. Demetrius Knight Jr. I want to say we're pretty high on him too. There's some solid backers in there. Yeah, we got him in the 78 spot. So obviously, if I take a look at the banner here, 78. If he falls to pick 87, that would be ideal. Pick 54 would be a little bit of a reach, just according to our board. Now, Kyle Krabs had him at 59, right? So he would say he's more worth the second-round pick than we would. Daniel Jeremiah did not have him in the top 50, and neither did Dane Brugler. I don't think Dane Brugler actually had him in his top, top 100? No, maybe he did a top 50. I got to go back and get the updated numbers. But he scored an 8+ RAS last I checked. Demetrius Knight Jr. did too. So, I'd be okay with that. That's actually, to me, a better linebacker than the previous one we mentioned there.
There's even a decent list of like third and fourth and fifth. I mean, we got Jack Kaiser, Kobe King looks really good. I like Cody Simon. Danny Stutzman's a little secret one. Jay Higgins, obviously. You could even get back into Teddy Buchanan. They've got PFF has him listed as the 271st prospect, but he's graded out very, very well his whole career.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think we had a question about the 5th-year option here. I'll throw the banner up for the league dates. I think it was Ron Samville. And thank you for the super chat, Mike. Appreciate you, man. I'd be on board with Demetrius Knight for sure at linebacker. May 1st is the 5th-year option decision deadline. I want to say it's immediately following the draft. As soon as the draft's over, there's like a week window that opens up. There's typically, I want to say it's a week long. I could be wrong, where you can slap that on. We'll see here as the calendar rolls across the bottom of the screen way too slowly. So I'm just going to sit here and filibuster and buy time until we get till after the draft. Tim, do you know the exact date?
You can yell at me because I didn't update our calendar yet.
Oh, gotcha. It's
5th-year option is May 1st. Yes.
Okay, cool. There you go, Ron. Yeah, so we'll find out what happens with Devontae Wyatt, whether or not he gets 5th-year option, right? And again, I would be really, really surprised if Quay gets it. That's big money for someone who's just a stack backer. If he lined up at edge 50% of the snaps, you might be able to justify it if he was effective. But yeah, that just seems like way too much money for a stack backer for sure. Let's see here. Jason Y, is it just me or did you guys double your subscribers this week? I can't keep up, Jason. One thing we've noticed here on the old tube is the algae will get kicked from time to time. And all of a sudden, it's like everybody's messaging me going, man, I can't find your show. Why can't I find your show? And then the next thing you know, we're blimping up to, 500 viewers and everything. So we just keep doing our thing and let them do their thing. And we give multiple options and platforms for people to find us. That's all we can do. But yeah, the channel is growing though, man. We've met some awesome new people here as they've jumped on board for sure. Prince in the chat, 4K, hit it before the draft. That would be awesome. Yeah, we're closing in on 4,000 subscribers. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, feel free to hit it. That would help us get over that hump. And if you know someone too, like, hey, man, they're on YouTube a lot. They listen to the Packers. Just throw a plug out there. Throw the link. Say, hey, if you don't care, go sub to this channel. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you for that shout out there, Prince. Next thing here, let's since we were kind of talking free agent, is there anything else you guys want to hit on the depth chart before we move on from that? Anything at all? Like, you want to take a peek at offense since we did make a signing there, right? Yeah. We didn't even talk corner yet. Let's do this. That was the whole point of us bringing it up. They got Nate Hobbs as the nickel, right? And if Ja comes back, what they're projecting is Ja on one side, Keyshawn on the other, Nate Hobbs in the nickel spot, right in the slot, with Bullard backing him up. Me personally, I would rather see Nate Hobbs play on the outside, opposite of Ja. He's like 6'1", right? I would rather have him on the opposite side of Ja and have Keyshawn and Javon Bullard battle it out for the slot. And here's the thing now, if an injury occurs and Keyshawn has to go out to the outside, right, and play outside, let's say if Nate or Jair gets banged up, if Ja's on the roster, again, I know there's people going, Clayton, he's not going to be here. Okay, I got you. If that happens, I feel a lot better about Keyshawn then kicking outside where he played his best ball and Javon Bullard coming in and playing the slot. Now, if you're asking me what would you do day one, I would have Jair Alexander on one side, Nate Hobbs on the other. I would have Javon Bullard playing in the slot and Keyshawn ready to play dime back and come in a spell or a bang up on the injury. And then if Javon Bullard goes down, bring Keyshawn in. I really liked what Javon Bullard did out of the slot last year, especially against the run. Did not like what I seen as a safety, though. And I do like the fact that ESPN has got Javon Bullard in the nickel and not as a safety like some other sites do. So what do you guys think about the corner room there? How would you guys line it up? I guess would be the better question. Whoever wants to go first.
Man, I mean, let's assume Ja's there, obviously. I think I'm cool with Hobbs on the outside, and I'd probably want Bullard as my starting nickel. That's probably what I do. And I've never really been a fan of Nixon in the secondary, but he definitely held the zone better when he was on the outside. So, yeah, if he's maybe that guy that comes in, like you said, if somebody gets hurt or just certain packages, I think that's what I'd like. And then I don't even know about how do we get Carrington on the field? I feel like he deserves to be. I'd almost would go Carrington on the outside, have Hobbs in the slot with Bullard as a backup and Nixon as a backup on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
That could very well be how it turns out too. We don't know once we see how camp shapes up and things like that. But I kind of like that. I would agree that I think Keyshawn played better on the outside than he did in the slot. But I also think Keyshawn is better in the slot than Bullard. So the idea of having those two battle it out for the slot makes a lot of sense. But I'm with you, Jacob. Like how do we get CV on the field? Because the guy is coming off probably his best season for sure last year, and I'd like to see him continue that momentum. So these are good problems to have, right? And the best thing on earth would be an awesome year 2 step from Kalen King, and all of a sudden we've got a dude. We've got another guy already in the building that's going to be serviceable. So I'll tell you one thing: there's a lot of depth in the secondary, and yeah, it wouldn't hurt to add maybe another outside corner to the mix. But yeah, I think Ja and Keyshawn being your guys on the outside, I don't have a problem with that. But there is some validity to what you're saying, Jacob. Have Valentine and Jair on the field at the same time would be kind of an interesting look.
Yeah, could you imagine the smack talk if it was Ja on one side, CV on the other, and Keyshawn in the nickel?
And if you remove, shut up. If you removed the contract obligations and everything, then I would probably want Carrington starting over Key. The issue is there's a general manager involved, right? And I'm sorry if anyone thinks that Matt LaFleur makes the calls. He's the one who decides who's on the field and who isn't. This is a three-headed monster. It has been for a while, right? It's Mark Murphy, it's Matt LaFleur, and Brian Gutekunst meeting weekly. If you were to take, let's say, Javon Bullard, his second-round pick, and throw him on the bench, Goody's probably going to bring that up in a meeting, I would imagine, right? Like, hey, that's a second-round talent. Like, we know he can play. Why is he not on the field? With Carrington, 7th-round pick, right? Let me put it this way. If Carrington ends up beating out, say, Nate Hobbs for an outside corner spot, right? You think Goody's going to let that happen with the money he spent for Hobbs? Ain't going to happen, right? So if you do kick Nate Hobbs to the nickel back, like ESPN's saying here, and start Carrington opposite Jair, I like that more. Carrington Valentine starting over Keyshawn on the boundary. I do like that. But the problem is Keyshawn's making like $6 million and Carrington's a 7th-round pick. and that's where the GM is going to come into play. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're paying that dude $6 million or whatever the cap hit is this year. I think it averaged out to $6 million over the duration of the 3-year extension.
That's the part about football I don't like.
Right?
It's like I want the dude who's balling his ass off.
I don't care.
I want that guy on the field. I don't care what his paycheck is or where he was drafted.
Could not
I want
agree
the best
more.
man out there.
Yeah, could not agree more. And unfortunately, it's just not how it happens. It isn't. It's just the way it is. So it's going to be exciting. But I think, Tim, you pointed out the main thing is feel a lot better about this DB room with just one little signing here. It's amazing. Now, if Ja's gone, a lot of these answers get made for us, right, Jake?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's your lineup if Ja's gone? I mean, I think it has to be CV on one side, Nixon on the other, Hobbs in the slot.
That's interesting. For me, it would be CV on one side, Hobbs on the other, Bullard in the slot, or Bullard and Nixon fighting for the slot is what I would go for. But I can understand what you're saying too, because again, the money thing, now it comes down to, okay, we paid Keyshawn $6 million and he doesn't want to return now, which is, I don't know if that's still a thing or not. Hopefully that just never surfaces and he's the return guy and we're all good. But again, the problem we've got is who should start. And it's not, it's kind of like the old quarterback conversation that Bill Parcells said. If you got two quarterback ones, then you don't have a quarterback one. Kind of feels like that with corner too. If there's not two definitive, these are the guys, then we probably don't have two starting quality corners. However, if you had to pick one out statistically last year, Carrington Valentine's the dude that, I mean, again, we talked about it all offseason. His passer rating when targeted, what was it? Ended up being 69.0 as opposed to Keyshawn Nixon's at 101.2.
He was the best guy around.
If you're going strictly off of production, Carrington's the better corner than Keyshawn. Now, Keyshawn made some plays, don't get me wrong, attacking the run, things like that, nickel blitzing, doing that early in the season, if I remember correctly. So that's the other thing we're not taking into consideration too is matchups, right? It might be something that, depending on the team we play, they want to put Nate Hobbs in the slot because they got a really good slot corner. Like, hey, go over there and just be a goon all day and then throw whoever you want opposite the other side. So I think it's a good question, a good conversation. But with Jair, man, I don't know how soon we're going to have that answer, whether he's going to be on the team or not. And that's probably why they said, look, we had a high draft grade on Nate Hobbs. Rich Bisaccia loved him. When he played under Rich Bisaccia, he was scored in the 80s, right? If I remember correctly, in PFF his rookie year. Played a lot of snaps as well. Let's go get him. That way we're not pressed by Ja's camp. Because, I mean, let's be real. That's a real thing. Like the agents going, hey, boys, you guys are hurting at corner, right? Well, now you go out and you sign Nate Hobbs. I can't imagine that agent has too much leverage there in that point. You've covered the bases. And like Tim said, you've added depth to the room. Now you just kind of let the chips fall. There's no rush for Goody, though. There's no rush for Goody to do anything with Jair.
And if there is a trade, it could be a draft day trade for all we know.
Mm-hmm.
Really
That's what it feels like.
Yep.
But one thing's for sure, I don't think they're just going to cut him outright. I think what they're going to do is that's off the table now, unless Ja really causes some stink. And there's literally no reason to think he would. He would have already done it, guys. If he was going to, burn the ship, so to speak, he would have done it right before free agency because that's when he would have got his next bag. And the fact that he didn't do that, I think that says a lot about where they're at. They're both kind of monitoring the situation like, let's see what's best for both parties and being mature about it, which I can love and respect that as a Packers fan. There's no doubt. So anything else on the corner room or on the depth chart there, boys, on the defensive side? No. We had a couple things we wanted to get into. We'll probably do a 2 episode here this morning. We got plenty to talk about. Let's go back to offense real quick, and let's now take a look at how ESPN sees this offensive lineup with the newest addition there, left guard Aaron Banks. So they're showing Jordan Love quarterback, Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson, Marshawn Lloyd, and Chris Brooks as your running backs. Jaden Reed and Christian Watson on the outside. Of course, Christian Watson's injured, so go ahead and remove that name until November. And you've got Romeo Dobbs would be the other one. He would be your X. So your starting 3 receivers would be Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, and Christian Watson if he's healthy. So now it's probably going to become Dontavion Wicks as it sits right now. Now, we've talked. They could draft a wide receiver. That could definitely happen. They could still sign Cooper Kupp. That could be coming today. Who knows? I highly doubt it at this point. And then, of course, you got Bo Melton, Malik Heath, and then it drops off to Julian Hicks, Cornelius Johnson, and Tulu Griffin. Tim, you ever heard of that guy? Who the hell is Tulu Griffin?
Who in the
There you
hell is
go.
Mel Kiper anyway?
Close to. We'll do that. So that's your wide receiver room as it sits right now. Now let's get into tight end: Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Ben Sims, Messiah Swinson. They don't have Fitzpatrick listed here, which is weird because we did bring him back, right? Or did we not?
Thought they did.
I was thinking he was under contract. I could be wrong, though. Confirm in the chat for me, guys, if Fitzpatrick is back at tight end this year. I thought we had him on like one of those futures or whatever it's called, you know. Where you
Real
got
quick, going back to receiver, Julian Hicks, put a star next to his name. That's a guy to definitely keep an eye on. That's my sneaky good bottom of the depth chart type of guy. He flashed a lot in camp last year. And I think he could be a guy you never know, especially with Scoot not playing a lot this year. So keep an eye on Hicks.
That's what Prince says here, too. Julian Hicks, the best practice squad guy at wide receiver who may have a shot. I was wanting to say I remember hearing his name a lot during camp last year. So he may take that next step. And if people don't think that's realistic, that was the Malik Heath a few years ago, right? That was Bo Melton, these guys that was just like you were hearing about them, and then all of a sudden, bang, you're seeing them on Sundays. So that could potentially happen for sure.
Jacob's got to get to the office, huh? Are you heading out, Jacob?
Not right now, but in a little bit.
Okay.
A few minutes. Drew D says, I think we let him go talking about Fitzpatrick. Got it, man. Got it. And maybe here we go, is a restricted free agent who was not tendered, so now an unrestricted free agent. So if nobody else picks him up, I guarantee you he's getting invited to camp, right? It's going to be one of those type, part of the 90-man roster, I would imagine. So good stuff there. Now, offensive line, they're showing left tackle Rasheed Walker, left guard Aaron Banks, center Elton Jenkins, right guard Sean Ryan, right tackle Zach Tom. I just want to say, if anyone is still kind of holding out that they don't think Elton's going to play center, barring us drafting a center high, like a Gray Zabel or somebody like that, Rob Demovsky works for ESPN. This is ESPN's depth chart. Rob Demovsky was the one who reported last year they think the center of the future is already in the building. Now, all of a sudden, you look on the ESPN website, and Elton Jenkins is your center. Becoming pretty obvious who that is now, right? So that's what they're showing at right guard with Jordan Morgan being the backup. Now, they still got that questionable tag on some of these players that ended the season injured. So it could be they just need to update that. I personally think Jordan Morgan will end up starting over Sean Ryan. That's me. There's some people talking on Sports Talk. I heard it on Milwaukee Sports Talk Radio and a couple other places that they think Jordan Morgan might get Rasheed Walker a run at his money on left tackle. And if that happens, could Rasheed Walker be trade bait because he's going to be coming up for a contract? And how much are you going to pay him? That's an interesting concept. My question to you guys is this. What would it take in terms of a draft pick compensation that you'd say, I would give up Rasheed Walker for that? Because for me, man, it's pretty high compensation. I like that dude at left tackle.
I'd need at least a third.
Yeah. For sure.
You said third? Okay.
Because what was Sheed? He was a 6th round pick or
No, he was a seventh.
7th round. Okay. And he's legit starting left tackle for sure. So, I would think you'd have to get, at least a third, like Jacob said, right?
Yeah, I would think so too. Now, when you look at the depth here, this is what worries me a little bit. Look at the depth on the offensive line. Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, Zach Tom. Let's assume that's the starters. Your backup guard would be Jordan Morgan as it sits right now. Who's the backup left tackle? Kadeem Telford? They get him listed at guard, him and Travis Glover both. Like, who's the backup tackle here?
Yeah, man. That's not
Doesn't
great.
that scream hold on to Rasheed Walker? And also, doesn't that scream you're probably going to take a tackle fairly early in the draft?
Do you think Morgan's considered our backup left tackle?
That's what people were saying on Sports Talk the other day. I can't remember who specifically it was because it kind of caught me off guard. Like, just trade Rasheed so you don't have to pay him a big contract and put Jordan Morgan at left tackle. And I'm going, damn, I thought Sheed was.
Well, he played left tackle at Arizona, right? Or was he on the right side?
No, I thought he was left tackle.
Jordan Morgan played. Yeah, he played left tackle his entire career, high school and college.
Yeah, so that's where that logic comes from. It makes sense, right? Comfortability. It'd probably be pretty easy. Well, not pretty easy, but it would be easier for him to go back to that spot.
All right.
Just
So let me ask you this: if an interior lineman goes down, if a guard goes down, right? Who's going in their place with this depth chart right here? It'd be Jordan Morgan, would it not? Right.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, and let's say the left tackle goes down, do you kick Jordan Morgan to left tackle? Now who's your backup guard? We're right back where we were against Philly.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm looking at. Like, this Aaron Banks signing makes a whole lot of sense, boys. Whole lot of sense. Because imagine this roster without Aaron Banks. We're going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go lineman really, really early. So I think if the board falls just right, you can justify taking a wide receiver early in the first round. You could justify taking an offensive lineman in the first round. You could justify taking a 3-tech in the first round. This is going to be a fun draft. It's going to be hard to really predict, you know? So
just real quick, because it bothered me. I'm like, who is Tulu Griffin? Tulu Griffin, aka Ledietrich Griffin, a wide receiver who was a 4-star recruit, which, believe it or not, he played in a smaller school, I believe. Yeah, Mississippi State. And he had decent numbers coming out of college, and the dude ran a 4.4. So he played in the Shrine Bowl. I don't know, man. Watch out for Ledietrich, aka Tulu Griffin.
Here's the guy.
there you go.
We didn't get Tutu Atwell like we
No.
wanted in
We got
free
a Tulu.
agency, right? But we got Tulu. So
And Cornelius. We've got the best third string receiver names in the league. Cornelius Johnson and Tulu Griffin.
I love it.
Good
Nice.
stuff.
You know how we love our names in Titletown, right?
Yeah.
I used to love it when people on Twitter would go, oh, that's a football name. That's a good football name. Like, let's draft him. Like, drafting people by their name.
Based on their name.
Yeah.
I found an ID at a bar I was working at down in Nashville, and the guy's name was Demetrius Turnipseed. And I was like, I got to find this guy. I got to find him and meet Demetrius Turnipseed.
I love it.
Heck yeah. I love it. All right. That's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all.